If one were to gaze upon a map of the African continent, a single magnificent blue artery would immediately draw the eye. This is the River Nile. It carves a path northward, a determined journey across arid deserts, fertile plains, ultimately pouring its life-giving waters into the Mediterranean Sea. For millennia, the river has been the cradle of civilizations, a silent witness to the rise and fall of empires. A constant source of sustenance for countless people along its verdant banks, its story is not just one of water, but of life itself. The Nile's great journey does not begin at a single point. Its origins are twofold. One primary wellspring is the immense Lake Victoria, a shimmering inland sea. It's really quite something. The journey of the White Nile begins at a place of immense scale and tranquility, emerging from the northern edge of Lake Victoria, near the Ugandan town of Jinja. Here the water spills over a series of submerged rocks, a gentle but definite start to its long odyssey northward. In its early stages, the river, known as the Victoria Nile, is marked by spectacular rapids and waterfalls. It flows with purpose, passing through the shallow, papyrus-fringed Lake Kyoga, a vast wetland that temporarily slows its pace before it gathers momentum again, heading toward the western edge of the Great Rift Valley. The river plunges through the narrow chasm of Murchison Falls, forced through a gap just a few meters wide. After this, it flows into Lake Albert, mingling waters and exiting at the lake's northern tip. Now called the Albert Nile, it moves into the flat plains of South Sudan. The story of the Blue Nile begins high in the Ethiopian highlands, a world away from the calm expanse of Lake Victoria. Its primary source is Lake Tana, a large, sacred lake on a plateau over a mile above sea level. Fed by the heavy summer monsoon rains, the river, called the Abe, spills from the lake and immediately begins a journey of immense power and drama. For the first part of its course, it meanders through the highlands, then plunges into the Blue Nile Gorge, over a kilometer deep. The Blue Nile is profoundly seasonal. In the dry season, it is a relatively modest river. With the summer rains, June, July, August, September, the river undergoes a phenomenal transformation. It swells into a furious chocolate-brown torrent, its volume increasing more than 50-fold. The surge carries an immense load of eroded topsoil and volcanic silt. This dark, nutrient-rich sediment gives the river its name and fertilizes lands downstream, sustaining civilizations for millennia. As it thunders through the gorge, the Blue Nile is raw, untamed nature. The river's descent from the highlands is steep and rapid, a characteristic that makes it ideal for hydroelectric power. The separate journeys of the White Nile and the Blue Nile, one serene, one tumultuous, culminate at a single moment in the heart of Sudan. Khartoum, the city where they meet. The two colors side by side. The pale, clay-laden waters of the White Nile. The dark, silt-heavy current of the Blue Nile. For kilometers, they flow side by side in the same channel. Their colors remain distinct before finally merging into one. This confluence is called Al-Magran. It's both symbolic and practical. It marks the true beginning of the Nile. From Khartoum northward, there is only one great river. The White Nile gives steady, year-round flow. The Blue Nile brings seasonal surges and fertile silt. United, the Nile begins its longest leg. It flows north through arid northern Sudan and Egypt. The river cuts a ribbon of life through the Sahara. The influence of the River Nile extends far beyond the banks. Its reach is truly vast. The river is sustained by a vast drainage area known as the Nile Basin. This basin is the total land area from which all rainfall and surface water eventually flows into the Nile. It is a complex network of tributaries, streams, lakes, and groundwater systems. The Nile Basin is a shared resource, a geographical reality that connects the destinies of a diverse group of countries. The list of countries that lie either partially or wholly within the Nile Basin is extensive. Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Eritrea. For some of these countries, like Egypt and Sudan, the river is an almost exclusive source of fresh water, an absolute lifeline in an arid environment. The River Nile is far more than a simple channel of water. It is a dynamic, living ecosystem that provides a vital habitat for a remarkable array of wildlife. In its waters, a diverse community of fish thrives, forming the base of a complex food web. One of the most famous and controversial is the Nile perch, a massive predatory fish. It can grow to an immense size. While a valuable commercial species, its introduction into Lake Victoria had a profound and often devastating impact on native cichlids. Alongside it swim numerous other species: whiskered catfish, tigerfish. These fish have been a crucial source of protein for riverside communities for millennia. Lurking in deeper pools and along muddy banks are Africa's iconic megafauna. The Nile crocodile is an ancient, formidable predator, a master of ambush. They often bask motionless in the sun, conserving energy, waiting for an unsuspecting animal to venture too close. Sharing the river is the hippopotamus, a large, semi-aquatic herbivore. Submerged by day to protect its skin. At night they emerge to graze, shaping the riverbank vegetation. The air and reeds are alive with birds. Resident and migratory avifauna flock here. African fish eagles soar and dive to snatch fish. Herons and egrets stalk the shallows. Kingfishers dart like bright jewels. In the Suds papyrus swamps, the shoe-bill stork hunts. Beyond the water, the Nile's ribbon of vegetation is a vital green corridor in an arid landscape. Vervet monkeys chatter in acacias. Waterbuck and other antelope graze by the water. The Nile functions as an elongated oasis. For thousands of years, the rhythm of human life in northeastern Africa has been linked to the Nile. The river has been and remains the organizing principle of society, especially agriculture. Fertile black silt, deposited by annual floods, created productive farmland in the desert. Natural fertilization allowed bountiful harvests of wheat, barley, flax. Today, modern irrigation changes techniques but not the principle, turning arid land into fields of rice, cotton, sugarcane, vegetables. The Nile served as a highway for commerce, communication, cultural exchange. Traditional wooden boats with triangular sails, feluccas, still sail today. They carried stone for temples and pyramids, transported grain to urban centers, and linked communities. Great cities grew on the banks: Cairo, Khartoum, Luxor. The Nile provided drinking water, sanitation, and economic activity. It was the foundation for enduring civilizations. In ancient Egypt, the river was deified as Hapi. Today, its cultural resonance lives on in songs, poems, festivals. In the modern era, the nations of the Nile Basin have sought to exert greater control over the river's powerful and sometimes unpredictable flow. This has been achieved through the construction of numerous dams and the creation of vast reservoirs, designed to manage floods, store water for irrigation during dry periods, and harness the river's immense energy to generate hydroelectric power. These structures have fundamentally altered the river's natural rhythm, bringing both profound benefits and significant challenges to the people and ecosystems that depend on it. They represent humanity's attempt to tame the wild heart of the great river for its own purposes. Perhaps the most famous of these structures is the Aswan Nile Dam in southern Egypt. Completed in the 1970s, this colossal embankment dam was a monumental undertaking. By creating the vast reservoir known as Lake Nasser, one of the largest artificial lakes in the world, the dam provided Egypt with a multi-year water storage capacity. This effectively ended the annual, often destructive, flooding of the Nile Valley and guaranteed a reliable supply of water for agriculture and urban use. Furthermore, its massive turbines generate a significant portion of the country's electricity, fueling industrial and domestic development. Further upstream, in Sudan and Ethiopia, other major dams play crucial roles in managing the Blue Nile. In Sudan, The Sennar Dam and Roseras Dam, built decades ago, have long been essential for irrigating the vast Gezira scheme, one of the largest irrigation projects in the world. More recently, and on a far grander scale, Ethiopia has constructed the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam near its border with Sudan. This massive hydroelectric project is designed to be the largest power station in Africa, with the potential to transform Ethiopia's economy and provide electricity to millions. While these dams provide undeniable benefits in terms of power generation, flood control, and water security, they also have far-reaching consequences. The Aswan Nile Dam, for example, traps the nutrient-rich silt that once fertilized the downstream floodplains, forcing farmers to rely on artificial fertilizers and contributing to erosion along the Nile Delta. Dams can also disrupt fish migration patterns and alter the delicate ecosystems of the river and its floodplains. The construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has become a source of complex diplomatic negotiations between Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt, as the downstream nations worry about how the filling and operation of the dam will affect their historic water supplies, highlighting the immense challenge of sharing a single river. So, it's a trade-off we still wrestle with. From sources in the mountains of Burundi to tributaries feeding Lake Victoria to the Mediterranean Sea, the Nile covers about 6,650 kilometers, or 4,132 miles. The sheer scale of the Nile Basin is difficult to comprehend. It covers a total area of approximately 3,400,000 square kilometers, which is roughly 10% of the entire African continent. To put this in perspective, the basin is larger than the entire country of India,